Excellencies, delegates, colleagues, ladies and gentlemen. So I would like to welcome all of you for our series of the regional dialogues on under the regional policy advocacy component for the Switch Asia. Switch Asia program is fully funded by the European Union to support the mainstreaming of sustainable consumption and production in Asia. And one of the key objectives for the regional policy advocacy component is to provide support on SDG 12 and also connecting that with the major challenges we are facing, including climate change, green recovery from COVID, plastic pollution, food management, energy, and so on. So today, we are here to discuss the role of the cities in line to mainstream sustainable consumption and production in cities. And to do so, the concept is to make the cities more circular, or to bring circular economy in the geographical sphere of the cities for the better management of cities, to reduce the environmental footprints, pollution that is happening because of the socioeconomic activities in the cities, and also to increase the resource efficiency within the cities, so the services, whether it be the healthcare services, the education, the jobs, tourism, all food, everything is provided to better levels, and all the citizens in the cities can enjoy healthy environment. So that's where the whole point is, that how we can create the healthy and happier cities through circular economy. So that's today's main area for us to discuss. And what we are looking at the end of day, on the one hand, we are sharing the experiences across the Asia and the Europe to learn from each other. But number two, also, we are trying to see some of the new or emerging innovative ideas that how we can create resource efficient and pollution-free cities based on the circular economy principle, and that will help us to help the countries to achieve the carbon neutrality goals, like a EU Green Deal, that by 2050, the cities become carbon neutral. So on this note, I would like to thank in advance to all our delegates, and especially the speakers, the distinguished speakers who are here today with us and from different parts of the world. So first of all, without further ado, let me invite the first speaker, Ms. Beatrice Maroto Isquierdo, and Ms. Beatrice is basically managing EU Switch grant project in Mongolia, in Ulaanbaatar, addressing the air pollution. She has been working in multicultural environments across the different regions in Europe, in Asia, Latin America, and in Africa. She had been working to support the international aid in environmental services like energy and water. And she has been attached with the Madrid University, also in teaching in different disciplines, including energy and so on. So with her more than 10 years of experiences, she is now helping to address one of the biggest challenge, that's the air pollution, and especially now the winter is there, and in winter it gets worse in Ulaanbaatar. So let's hear from Ms. Beatrice that how she's helping and how we can make the cities circular to reduce the air pollution in cities. So over to Ms. Beatrice, please. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mustak. Thank you very much for inviting us to present this project, which is one of my passion, I have to say. I'm gonna share my screen. Please let me know if you can see my screen. Now I think you're seeing my screen, no? It's fine.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, thank you. So this project, Switch Off Air Pollution project, is under Switch Asia Grants Program, co-funded by European Union, Fundación Abbé Pierre, Czech Republic Development Agency, and French Development Agency. This project is led by Juris NGO with more than 40 years of experience in the energy sector, and based on our experience in Afghanistan and France. Also, it's supported by the University of Mongolia Science and Technology, the Building Energy Efficiency Center, the Mongolian National Construction Association, and People in Need NGO. Is it okay? Sorry? Okay. The project started in 2018 and will end by the end of 2021. The project budget is 2,200,000 euros. Sorry, I'm having some problems. I'm listening to myself. I don't know if some of the micros are open. Thank you. Thank you. So basically, to understand the project, it's needed to explain the context of Mongolia and Ulaanbaatar. Mongolia is characterized by its harsh climate with conditions that reach -40 degrees in the winter and +40 degrees in the summer. The winter lasts 6 months and the average temperature is -20 degrees. This is the current temperature we are having right now. And it's one of the countries most impacted by climate change. The capital is where the half of the population of Mongolia lives, and is the most polluted capital in the world, but also the most polluted capital in winter. I would like you to understand that 60% of the population of Ulaanbaatar is living in the unplanned area of Ger area. Ger, it's meaning yurt in Mongolian. So the Ger area is what you see in this picture is all this area that is surrounding the apartment center. Basically, 60% of the population is living here, either in detached houses or yurts, gers, 60% in houses and the rest in gers. And the majority of the pollution is coming from this Ger area, where people are burning coal in traditional stoves to get warm. So the project wants to decrease emissions of CO2 and particulate matters in Ulaanbaatar, Ger area, reducing it through the adoption of energy sustainable consumption and behavior patterns. The way we are doing it is by intermediating the market to develop an energy efficiency housing, profitable and fair price market for Ger area developers. The expected outcomes by the end of 2021 will be define standardized technical solutions, strengthen construction sector capacity, aware 400,000 people about the importance of insulation, and 1,000 households implement some insulation actions, saving at least 800 tons of coals and avoiding 3,000 tons of equivalent CO2 in Ulaanbaatar. This is just a pilot to scale up and replicate in the future. So the project started with a large baseline study. We conducted 450 surveys to households to better understand the people's attitude and knowledge about heat loss and air pollution. We also surveyed 179 houses to understand where were the bigger energy losses, the way they construct, and how we could provide standardized solutions. In this sense, I have to say that for the first time in Mongolia, we, thanks to this baseline, we classified the houses into 4 categories and typologies. And I want to say that in Mongolia, there is a lack of tradition in sedentary houses. People construct by themselves. So it's very important that we could classify them into typologies in order to develop standardized solutions. Also, we create for the first time in Mongolia a database of micro, small, and medium enterprise, mainly brigades and individuals working in the construction, currently working in the informal market. They were the ones who this project was more interesting for, because we could support them to become entrepreneurs, and they could work, they were interested in the profits that the project could bring them. And also the price they were given was affordable for the households. We also construct this data with national statistic data to understand better the 55% of the households living there were lacking of investment capacity, and the rest were having different investment capacity. We also map financial products and insulate certified materials and providers and the value chain. Basically, what we wanted is to understand very well the context, because we identify while we were reviewing previous projects, we identify these gaps of knowledge, and then once we understood what we had to collect, then we started all this research. So we started standardized insulation. We realized was very much needed. And it's the first step before improving the stove or the coal. And also there were other projects already working on that. The insulation market was very new. We thought it was very much needed. In this project, there were no subsidies, very little subsidies. But we have the opportunity to work with Green Climate Fund's green loans, thanks to one of our associates. So we started developing the products for these loans and the delivery model for these loans. Here, some concrete house. This is a plank house. Here you have also another good house and another good house. So basically, this is the delivery model of the Green Climate Funds. We start with promotion. The promotion, we do it mainly through Facebook, because after a couple of pilots, we realized was the best way to achieve our best of the household to insulate their house or to get information. Through this call center, we give some information about the different products. And if the household is interested, then they request a technical assessment. So our project brigades goes there to deliver in less than half an hour technical assessment and a standardized offer. This I think it's important to say that this took us a lot of time, because to standardize this kind of works and give a standardized offer is not easy, but we managed after piloting some households. And this technical assessment has been recently included in the new technical code of Mongolia, thanks to the university support. Then if the household is interested in the offer, they apply for a loan or they can pay directly. And if the loan is approved or they pay directly, then the contracts are signed with the suppliers who provide the materials. Because when the household is selecting the offer, they select the material they want to use. We give information about the different typologies of insulation materials, and then the pros and the cons, and they decide. After that, the materials is received, the craftsman verify all material is provided according to the offer. They start the insulation. The team do a quality check, and this quality check, we aim the brigades to be the one to perform this quality check in the future, because under the project we have created a branch under our partner Mongolian National Construction Association. This branch is gonna last beyond the project, and the branch has been created for this kind of brigades and a small enterprise. This we hope that they integrate quality mechanisms and they are able in the future to do themselves this quality check. And then we end with an energy audit. It is a requirement from the Green Climate Funds to get an energy audit that ensure that at least the energy savings are over 20%. For this energy audit, we simplify the current energy audit that was only applying for apartments. And both the quality check has been also included in the technical code, in the construction code, and the energy audit has been, the simplified energy audit, low-cost simplified energy audit has been also introduced in the Ministry of Energy, in the Energy Regulatory Commission. The delivery model is having this website. I invite you to visit this website. This website has two main purposes. The first one, anyone can go here and get information about the different products, and they can simulate their energy losses. It has a calculator where you introduce your house typologies and different structure materials, and it can compute where do you have the biggest losses. And also it can, you can also compute the solution cost and request a technical assessment through the website. But the other main service that this website is giving us is that it helps us to coordinate among the different stakeholders, because we can connect all the stakeholders. Here you have the main stakeholders to this website and track the different steps of the delivery model. We have as a partner the municipality, the bank that is providing these green loans, Hasbank, the Mongolian Sustainable Finance Association. We have also partnered with World Bank Yubica project to do synergies. These are the suppliers that are currently involved, and also our craftsmen. We aim in the future to involve more actors, but in this moment, as we are piloting this delivery model and improving it by learning, by doing, we are not ready to involve more actors. We are involving them little by little. So basically, these are the main achievements of the project. I have already mentioned some of them, just to say that we are continuously studying the insulation market through the call center, getting feedbacks and asking the households why they took or not the insulation offer and what are their main problems. We are also conducting winter monitoring surveys during the winter. We are monitoring 45 houses. We will do this winter. In this moment, as I said, we create the branch. And these are the results of the two small pilots we implemented at the end of last year and this summer. Due to COVID, we didn't have the chance to implement more. And the results are not yet what we expect. We know we are going to have a geometrical increase, and we are getting closer, but we still need to implement more. We hope COVID is helping us to do it. The reasons or the problems, the main challenges we are facing is, as I said at the beginning, it's a new market. We need to increase the demand. There is a lack of knowledge of energy efficiency benefits. Also, majority of the households are lacking of investment capacity. And now with COVID-19, with the crisis, economical crisis is even lower. So this graphic is from 2018. We conducted a small survey and we realized, and we estimate an increase of 20% of no investment capacity. So currently the full package that we are offering is giving 70% of energy savings, and the cost is around 3,000 euros. We are also offering roof insulation as a starting point with 30% of energy savings, which is around 500 euros. We're still developing new products in the different between the different two big products, because what we have realized is that the investment capacity is varying a lot, and so it's needed to develop more products so people can step by step improve their energy efficiency according to their investment capacity. And we started a new approach that is called Simple Solutions, where we develop a very basic kit of insulation that costs 25 euros. And the idea of these simple solutions is to aware about the importance of insulation, to invite people to start insulating their house, to start knowing about the benefits. So step by step, adding 5 centimeters of roof insulation, which energy savings are around 12%, they can increase the thickness of the roof up to the 20 centimeters that are the standards of the technical code, and get 30% of energy savings, and going up into the ladder. So this simple solution approach, we are working with Red Cross volunteers, and the idea is to train, we are training these volunteers that will train households who are interested in insulate in the target districts. They will train them in these simple do-it-yourself solutions. If the households are willing to collaborate with the project and train other families, at least 3 families, we will award them with 5 centimeters of roof insulations. So the idea is to start a mechanism of word-to-mouth approach. And that is all. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Beatrice, for wonderful insights, and very relevant for making the housing sector one of the key focus points for the circular cities, and whether be the houses in the tropics, in the cold climates, in the rainy, or in the dry geographical areas. So the important point is how to insulate, how to make the housing energy more efficient to reduce the energy bills, and how to help to even avoid the indoor pollution within the houses. So very good model which can be replicated in the different forms in different parts of Asia. And so thanks, Ms. Beatrice, for that. And all the participants, kindly keep your mics muted, and your video also saved off for the time being, but we will invite all of you for the group photo at the end of day. So we will request you to turn on your videos at that time. And also you can post your questions in the question box or chat box, as we will have an interactive dialogue later on after the speakers are done with their speeches. So now, without further ado, let me invite our next speaker, Associate Professor Dr. Ali Gul Qureshi. He has a very intensive research and training experience in urban planning, focusing on the improved urban environment. So whether we are talking about the reverse logistics for recycling potential, like plastic, for example, or whether we are talking about the sustainable mobility or transportation within the cities, and so on. So for that, Dr. Ali Gul Qureshi has a very comprehensive record, and especially he was attached with the UNITAR Jeju for the training as well. So, and in the Kyoto, as we all know, Kyoto city is one of the best cities in the world from the environmental point of view, whether it be the land use planning, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 streets and so on. So let me invite Professor Dr. Ali Gul Qureshi for his presentation. Over to you, Dr. Qureshi.
Thank you, and good evening to everyone from Japan, from Kyoto. As Dr. Mushtaq mentioned that I'm currently based in Kyoto, and today I will be talking about role of urban planning. They are not sort of new models for circular economy or sustainable cities. Most of them are rather based on, let's say, very tested theories and sort of more based on the common sense, I usually say to whenever I try to present them. Just starting with some background, everybody knows about these facts, so it'll be just very quick. That we are getting more and more urbanized cities, urbanized population. This data is from European cities, a little bit old as well, but what we are seeing that is still even quite developed cities or quite developed countries are still getting more and more land urbanized, right? And most of this urbanization land is coming from what I call prime land, right? Most of them are coming from agricultural based land and even forest. So expanding cities, especially in a very unsustainable way, is actually eating up our carbon sinks as well. So as I mentioning that most of this type of uptake for urban and other artificial development usually comes from very prime land, and if it is replaced by something like what we are seeing in this picture, I think that is sort of a disaster or catastrophe in a sense, because this type of urbanization or this type of urban planning generates not only more traffic to your roads, because all of them are based on the car use. They are also, as we are seeing over here, maybe taking some share of our carbon sink with it, right? And also they can be they can affect the food security or the mileage particular amount of food travels to, because otherwise these lands could have been producing food which could be consumed within or very nearby cities in a sense, right? Other things, as I mentioned already here, like most of these houses are based on the car travel, and their shopping pattern also leads basically to overconsumption, I must say, of about of our available transport capacity, right? So when we face this type of problems in urban planning or in transportation planning, so far the ideas were mainly based on this build more and more capacity. Now you can already see here we are looking at a picture which has already 3 tiers, right? And where we can go from here. If we keep constructing new and new infrastructure for cars, it has been experienced by many cities that most of this capacity is soon taken over, and this may not be a good choice for our let's say future development or sustainable development, maybe we can say. So what we are actually facing, the problem generated was not new. It was based in our theories that we established for urban planning. For example, this type of pyramid style zoning was very common, very famous. I think still many cities are following this type of pyramid style zoning, where you are separating basically work and commercial areas from your residential areas. So if you do that one, of course, it will lead to more and more consumption of land, on one hand, and also more and more consumption of your transportation facilities. And it will be very difficult to do any sort of sharing based economy or any sort of circular based economy on them. Right, as I mentioned some of these problems already. So what actually went wrong was that we shifted from our natural sort of habitat style, which was more of the mixed land or mixed use neighborhoods where we used to live. The distances that we could have, that we could travel were not so big, and so we could live in a sort of compact city where we can shop, we can work, and also the density was sort of a little bit more as compared to what we are seeing in some of the modern urban planning objectives. I wouldn't say modern because now things are changing because we are learning continuously that what we were doing, especially like this type of planning or this type of capacity building is not working. So now we are learning more and more, and the future sort of direction is towards this type of development, which we call transit-oriented development, and which tries to provide you with clusters of the residential and working places together, right, linked with this mass transit systems, right, where we can actually try to simulate, for example, sort of little bit sustainable cities like Tokyo, maybe, for example. You can see that almost all of the Tokyo is covered by this 800-meter radius from railways, right? And these neighborhoods are quite walkable, and you can actually see their impact on the overall transportation also. So many people come and commute to Kyoto or to Tokyo and within Tokyo also, but still I think the traffic conditions or traffic sense is not as worst as it could have been with that many commuters and that many population. Okay, so what we need to do is, as I mentioned, is not so difficult to understand. It's not very difficult concept. It's just to think about accessibility when we consider our transport choice or when we consider our urban planning choice. Right? We want to give more and more access to people, to work, to commercial activity, of course, and a better living environment for everybody. Right? So we have to actually prioritize high value but low cost trips in a sense of social cost that we are paying for them. And although we have a lot of engineering options for them, but unless we don't change the driver's behavior, we don't change the behavior of people, it is very difficult to understand or to achieve these objectives. So we need to actually educate people that we have to abandon sort of, or maybe reduce at least this individual based transport and like individual objectives. We have to sort of sacrifice individual objectives to get more shared objectives for everybody, right? And these pictures, that's maybe you have seen many times, but these are the actual solution where you need to go and where you have to educate people also that they can change from individualism to more sharing and more circular sort of systems. This can be done even, of course, without big public transport. Car sharing it was a big phenomena. Still it is, but in I would say early 2000 or that time maybe, and maybe everybody know about. They started with this initiative of Zipcar, for example, and now almost every big city they have some sort of car sharing, and basically we can reduce the number of traffic with them. Other technologies are also good, but when I look at this particular graphic, I like it every time I look at it, because what we are thinking, most of the people are thinking about a future or modern city with electric cars, or for example with autonomous cars, but we have to understand that the modern city, or if you want to improve the life or the quality, life quality of everyone in the city, you have to go for the shared modes, more non-auto based modes, right? More walking, more cycling, maybe cars, but more with the shared cars, right? Not with the individual cars, and of course with the public transport also. Not only in the transport of passengers, but we have to think about other transportations as well. As for example, Dr. Mushtaq was mentioning about reverse logistics or collection of waste and other type of things. This is one of the model that we try to sort of steady also, but it's now getting more and more popular in many cities around the world, especially in Japan, where we try to replace these individual carriers again with some sort of shared carriers, right? So the idea is that instead of these individual carriers go and visit houses or markets or let's say residential areas or commercial areas, they can come to a facility where we can combine all the stuff, right? And instead of individual sort of parcels, we can send combined or sort of more cooperative way the freight deliveries as well as the pickups, right? And when we are sort of working on this type of models, if you think that this model is working for a shopping street or for a shopping mall, for example, it's all it's not only good for the supply side or the delivery side, it's also good for the pickup side. You can collect goods, but you can also collect some let's say unused item or reusable items also, and then you can take them and reprocess them. These ideas are also good for the recycling and for the reverse logistics as well. This idea is, as I said, is expanding, and people are trying in different fashions. For example, this idea was also introduced in the construction industry, for example, and the idea converted into construction consolidation centers, where when we are trying to construct buildings, for example, in the city center, instead of allowing all these suppliers to go and individually supply to these construction sites, what we can do is to create a consolidation center, right? And then receive major or bulk amount of goods here and just transport the daily required material or construction or repair, whatever type. And then also we can use this model to collect unused material or to collect waste from these sites to take them back to the consolidation center, and from here, of course, to other services for the recycling and other stuff. Just to give you some hint that this type of facilities actually can pay off also in some sense, is that we can see over here that when about maybe 200,000 pound worth of material was in a sense recycled, we can say, because otherwise it would have been just discarded by some way. So it was possible to return this over ordered material and save this worth. Maybe this material can be used in some other places also, and also it also facilitated the use of this reusable pallets over here, reusable cables and packages also, right? So in whole, as I mentioned, this urban planning models for circular economy or sustainable cities are not so complicated. They are simple ideas, right? Not like everybody can think about them, but it's always implementation that sometimes is difficult. Sometimes you have to educate people and politicians and policymakers to actually go with this type of not so, let's say, big projects, but ideas. So from urban planning perspective, I would say compact cities, right, with mixed land use that allow work and some sort of shopping or commercial activities merged together with residential areas will reduce our land use requirement also, and will also reduce our transportation requirement also, more and less energy requirement as well. Connecting these compact cities or connect these compact neighborhoods, walkable neighborhoods with transit, so that we can achieve a little bit bigger cities as well, but with these clusters which are connected together with public transport and with shared mobility, increasing our accessibility overall. And in last, just I showed you some concepts in the freight transport also can be used or implement, not to just look at, for example, only in one direction of transport, but look at transport and planning and urban planning as whole, as a one package. I think that is the basic model for future cities or our circular cities. With that one, I think that was a sort of very general overview. When I was asked to talk about the role of urban planning, I thought general ideas are good. Maybe then we can have some discussion points where we can discuss about particularities as well. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Qureshi, for sharing quite great insights in urban planning. And one major intact, I would take is sharing. Sharing is caring, as we all say, and we have so many shared services like transportation, the parks, the office spaces, even the coffee shops and everything. So how we can really help the cities to becoming more circular or resource efficient and less pollutant, focusing on sharing or the shared economy models. So thank you very much. So now let's move to another interesting topic, because as we see, there are many actors within the cities, whether it be the youth, whether it be the women, whether it be the elder people, whether it be the children and so on. So everyone has its role and also gets benefits out of the resource efficient or pollution free cities. So gender is one of the key areas where we always look at how gender can help to achieve the sustainable or circular cities, or how the circular cities can help to improve the gender development. So this is a virtuous cycle or circle we can create. For that, I would like to invite, because we are being hosted today in Asian Institute of Technology, so I'm taking a pleasure of in person inviting Professor Kyoko Kusakabe. She has a very long research, and she's a co-author of many books, including on the migratory women, on the fisher folk, and so on. And she's currently engaged with the plastic pollution and marine debris project by the World Bank, and so on. So everyone knows her, so I don't have to go through all the detailed CV of Professor Kyoko. So let me invite Professor Kyoko to discuss the gender aspects of the circular cities. Professor Kyoko, over to you.
Thank you very much for the introduction. Been given 2 minutes, so I hope that I can finish within time. Today, my topic is about gender integration approaches in projects, especially on urban projects. And what I would like to because I think many of us know that for project, it's very essential that we integrate gender. But then it's not always the case that things are done properly. And I would like to kind of share with you different ways that many people try to integrate gender, but then sometimes it's quite problematic. And so that's where we want to highlight. So I have 8 approaches that I would like to share with you. The first one is gender insensitive or gender hostile approach, meaning that in this kind of approach, they totally ignore gender. In the sense that they ignore women's knowledge or women's role, and then through that they sometimes unknowingly increase women's workload or have adverse effect on women. So, for example, we promote composting. So in the composting is nice for waste management and all that, but then they forget that most probably if you promote composting, most of the work will end up on women's lap. So we are doing good things, but then without really thinking about gender, we might be just increasing the workload of women without any benefit. So that's the gender insensitive or hostile approach. The next one is the basic needs first, gender second approach. So this one is especially seen in the food, for example, food availability or water availability. So in this one, they say that, okay, everybody is hungry, so we have to make sure that people have food to eat. So we have to think about food first, and we can think about gender later on. So that's the basic needs first, gender second approach. Now, what we need to think about is that, okay, why is it that some people are hungry in the first place? Many literature have already told us that it's not because of the absolute amount of food, but it's also because of the distribution. So when we are going to design distribution, of course, we have to make sure that the marginalized people do get access. And then that's where the gender analysis comes in. And then so we have to make sure that marginalized women and other marginalized people are able to have access and also be able to afford the services or the goods. So the same for water, the same for good food. So you have to design it so that we can make sure that everybody can afford and have access to. So that's why we cannot just say that, oh, let us have water first, clean water first, and we can think about the gender later on, and then you will not be able to achieve water access to everybody that you wanted to have in the first place. So we have to make sure that when we have this kind of services, are the areas where women are given priority or not. So these kind of things are the another concern that we have for this basic needs first, gender second approach. The next one is we call it household as a single unit approach. This one, they consider that household is a unit. So one family, so one household, if the household is benefited and everybody in the household lives happily ever after. So because there should not be any conflict or any differences within the household. We all know that that's not the case. It's always the case that something within the household itself, there are distribution problems. We have been hearing how girl child will get disadvantage in terms of food access or education access. Women eat later than men. So there are some cultures that is like that as well. So we cannot just kind of assume that just because the household that benefited, everybody in the household is equally benefiting from that service. So, for example, if for example we give some subsidy for recycling activities, so if the household does the recycling and then we give some subsidy. In the end of the day, what happens might be the case that the head of household receives the subsidy and then keep it for himself, whereas all the recycling activities are done by the women and children. So and then the money that you get, and then the people who are actually doing the job might not be the same within the household. So again, another problem about household as a single unit approach. We do need to make sure that there are differences within household people. The next one is welfare approach. So this one is something that we see that the woman, poor woman, the women need to be helped. So this very nice, very nice heart, that we want to help the woman. But then when we say that, okay, yes, we want to help the woman, what we often do not do is that we do not really ask the woman what they actually need, because actually we know better than you do. So that's why we would design it for you, because for this poor woman. So this is the welfare approach of it. So they do not recognize also that women sometimes can help themselves. Yeah, and then that, yeah, so that's the whole welfare approach. So it's nice, yeah, but then it doesn't really empower women as such, because they're gonna kind of see women as inferior and not being able to do anything. So that's another problematic approach that is often also seen. Another one, we call it add gender and stir approach. So this one is that we design, first of all, nice project. Yeah, so very nice efficient waste collection project, for example. Yeah, and then we say that, well, this one will also benefit women and men. And then both women and men will participate. So all these things that we would normally write people, you just replace it with women and men. And then pretend as if, yeah, women and men are also going to be considered. But then without really changing the design itself, without really checking whether this design is actually helping women and different kind of women. So without having that kind of analysis, you just replace people with women and men, is what we call it add gender and stir approach, which see a lot, yeah, because they just say that, oh, women will anyway benefit from this as well. So that's the gender add and stir approach, which again does not really benefit women, might not benefit women as we expect them to do. The next one, we call it celebrating women approach. So this one, we say that we highlight the benefit of having women in the project. So they recognize the benefit of gender integration, women's participation. So that's really nice. Yeah, but then they will say that, oh, women are good in cooking. So that's why let us involve women for this nutrition as component of this project, and then train the mothers in order to cook better food or food management in the household. Now, that's fine, but then it also creates stereotypes that women are the one who cooks, women are the ones who cooks for the children, women are the ones who's still going to take care of that. Some households, it might be the men who's doing it. Yeah, but then by having this kind of design saying that, oh, this is women, yeah, and then you are actually strengthening the stereotype. Yeah, so it doesn't really help women. It doesn't also help men either, because some men are also involved in that and they're excluded because you design it like that. Yeah, so that's again another problematic approach of celebrating women approach. Next one, we call it instrumental use of women. Yeah, so this one, they recognize that yes, women are very good. Yeah, women are very active. Women, so women are also in charge of household waste management. So let us involve women, yeah, because women will be the one who will be able to do this better than men. Yeah, and then also, women are at home, so let us involve women, yeah, because for community activity, because they are available at home. Yes, so they recognize women very much, but for the benefit of the objective of the project, in order to make sure that the project runs better, they will be involving women for that. Yeah, but then it's not for women. Yeah, it's not. They do not really care whether women's burden will increase or whether the benefit will really actually go to women or whether women's position or recognition is going to be better. That is not going to be. Yeah, that's not the concern of this approach. It's a more instrumental use of women. Let us use women so that we can run the project better. Last one is the transformative empowerment approach, which we are trying to advocate much more. This one, the women are the one who leads and design the project so that it will meet their needs. So, and then they were also given resources, not to say that volunteer work, women were anyway at home, so they are not there. So this kind of volunteer work is not what we are asking for. We're looking for differences among women. We're looking for giving women resources so that they'll be able to do that design as well. In this approach, we also recognize the differences among women. So it's that we have the design, but then seeing from this group of women, this group of marginalized women, or this group of marginalized people, and then see whether the affordability and accessibility is really going to achieve. So changes in gender relations, or like priorities are given, yeah, to make sure that the voices of these marginalized people are heard and the needs are met and their roles are recognized and rightfully rewarded is something that we are also looking for. So this one this was just to as an example of how we the framework that we use for our urban environmental management project that we had at AIT. So looking at doing gender analysis of the roles and resources and access and women's positions and roles and why are they doing that. So that kind of gender analysis is there, and looking at what are the challenges and opportunities, that what kind of opportunities are there to improve gender relations, to uplift women's positions. So we also try to maximize that in the project as well, so that women will be, both women and men will be the actor in these community actions. So that's all from me. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Professor Kyoko, for providing quite a good practical approaches that when we are talking about the circular cities, how we do the integration of gender in that perspective. So it's a win-win situation, or creating the virtuous circle that the gender integration itself helps to achieve circular cities, and then circular cities help to achieve the gender integration. Now, let's move to the practical examples. And as we know that Malaysia has a wonderful cities and they have done a lot. So the Malaysia at the national level, as well as the cities at the local level, are the showcasing their strategies for the world to learn. And one of the cities, Penang, where I have been personally assisting many friends for last 15 years to address the environmental challenges and to turn it into a green Penang. I have a pleasure to invite today Ms. Josephine Tan, my friend, and she's the head of the Penang Green Council. And the Penang's journey is quite exciting journey on the environment. And we have seen also the many leaders like Datin Maimuna. She is now the head of the UN Habitat. Then the former chief minister became the finance minister at national level. Then our friend YB Pibupon is an environmental champion. So there's a great journey which we can learn that how Penang achieved that. So let's invite Ms. Josephine Tan to enlighten us. Josephine, floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Dr. Nustaj, for the introduction, and good evening for all the participants today. Before I start my presentations today, I would like to thank you, Switch Asia, the United Nations Environment Programme, and also Asian Institute of Technologies, on the invitation extended to Penang Green Council to share our efforts and all the green practices that we have come along for the Penang cities in Malaysia. So I will start to share my screen now. Right. So I'll give you a little glance, demographic and information on Penang. So Penang State is one of the states located in Malaysia that we have 1.98 million for so far. And our recycling rate is 46.61%, which is also the highest recycling rate among all the states in Malaysia. And of course, Penang is also a highly urbanized city on that. So I will start to sharing by Penang City's good experience, what we have done for the past few years. And also I will share on what is our planning and way forward for the Penang Cities in Green Initiative. And also I will share on what do we do, especially during this pandemic, COVID-19, and what are the efforts that we have done in the Green Initiative. By starting through, Penang State has officially launched the waste segregation at source policy start from the year of 2016. So basically now we have separate into two streams, which is recyclable and general waste. So in future, we are planning to separate it into more categories on that. So of course, the objective to have this waste segregation at source policies is to increase the recycling rate. And the most important is to reduce our waste that are generated to the landfill. because in Penang, we have only one and the only landfill, which is located in Seberang Perai Selatan. Following back, Penang State is very proudly to say that Penang State is also the first state that introduced the No Free Plastic Bag campaign and also the ban on polystyrene, the usage of polystyrene packaging in Penang start from back 10 years ago. So officially, in 2009, Penang State has banned for polystyrene packaging and no free plastic bags. So on that time, when we want to purchase a plastic bag, we are all the customers are required to pay. So it will be cost the 20 cents per plastic bag. So this is a little bit of journey of our No Free Plastic Bag Day campaign. So start from everyday no free plastic bags, and then Penang State government has taken a bigger leap start from next year, which is we have expanded, we have say officially no plastic bag every Monday and Wednesday, and it is compulsory, will be starting next year, January. And also increase of the charging, that RM1 will be charged for Thursday until Sunday. So for no single-use plastic, basically we have go for phases. So plastic bags, we have a ready model on that. Followed by we are introducing the No Plastic Straw campaign. So basically in Penang State now, all the food and beverages premises will no longer be permitted to provide the plastic straw. So it means that when you go to visit to our Penang restaurants or food outlets, it won't have accessible to the straw but you need to request from the store, then you will be given a plastic straws for that. Okay, by looking into the circular economy initiative by the cities, Penang State realized that because we have only one landfill for our waste disposal, so it is very crucial for the state to look into how to incorporate circular economy concept in our waste management roadmap. So we want to focus on circular economy because it is the best approach to eliminate our waste and also the continued use of our resources if compared to conventional methods of take, make, and dispose. This is the first circular economy roadmap that introduced and launched by our local government. So it will consist of 8 key areas. Apart from different categories of the waste, we are also focused on renewable energy and energy efficiency. And so, of course, water and wastewater management. So this is the circular economy roadmap targets from our local council. Basically consists of we wish to achieve recycling rate up to 80% by the year of 2030, and also the food waste conversion on 90%, and elimination of single-use plastic and in most of our restaurants and all that. And renewable energies, we wish to achieve at least 30% in Penang State. And of course, we will look into waste energy and how to achieve a zero waste city. As part of circular economy project that focus on single-use plastic, under the initiative of Penang Green Council, we have a program, we name it as Sea Circular Project, that is collaborating together with the United Nations Environment Programme and also COP-C, and together with our Ministry of Water and Environment. This is a project that focuses on how to solve our plastic pollutions and to avoid for marine litter. So we have come up with 2 pilot projects for this particular Sea Circular Project, that we will educate the local community how to segregate the correct categories of the plastic, and we hope to change their behavior and consumption patterns that reduce the usage or consumption of single-use plastic. Plastic mini kiosks will be introduced for this project as well, because we would like to educate that if you have single-use plastic, let's say our bottles, our plastic bottles, you not necessarily have to throw it away. Then you can make this plastic more valuable by making it into another upcycle product. Followed by, we have another EU project, a Circular Cities project that is funded by European Commissions. It's a city-to-city pairing concept that we have the opportunity to learn from the EU countries and other countries that the great green initiative and also the research and innovations and knowledge transfer of their best practices. So it is also very crucial and serve as a basis data for us to create a circular economy roadmap in Penang. So as well, by moving forward, Penang State Government is currently crafting our Penang Waste Management Roadmap. The Waste Management Roadmap consists of 6 objectives of our Penang Waste Management that we are going to focus on. Of course, the main attention that we are going to introduce in this Penang Waste Management is to how to reduce the total waste generations. And secondly, we have to achieve the waste-related targets like in promoting circular economies, how to do the 4 Rs, and how to make the sustainable production and consumption. And interesting is we wish to create a waste industry policies, which we will have a system developed in order to do the BINSES matchmaking by using your trash to treasure is our treasure concept in developing it. So it will indirectly energize the job creation and also the economic growth in Penang cities. Followed by, of course, we will stimulate the R&D solutions in Penang and also to create a platform how to facilitate the achievement of all the major policies together with our stakeholders. And finally, we will also have to identify the innovative financing model for the waste sector. So in terms, we understand that since the pandemic of COVID-19, everyone have to suit ourselves into this new normal life. So a lot of trainings, workshops has been done virtually. So Penang State Government is also recognized the role, the importance of the digital technologies in order to create a circular cities. So the current issues that face in Penang State will be, yes, the pandemic COVID-19 issues, and also through our survey, the numbers of our businesses, especially our SMEs in Penang, who is currently incorporating digitalizations in their operations is still remaining quite low at a mere of 37.9. So at the present day, as this pandemic crisis pushes all the countries around to move into digitalization, so there were no exclusion for Malaysia or Penang State to suit ourselves into this new normal lifestyle. So by laying the groundwork for a digital technologies in order to power the circular economy, our Chief Minister of Penang State has launched a written vision of Penang State that with the theme of a family-focused, green and smart state that inspires the nation. It is comprises of 4 main themes that focuses on livability, economy, people, and built environment. So these strategic initiatives under the economy and built environment teams have all the aspects that touch upon the need for digitalization. As well, under Penang, Green Council has been tasked for a bigger role because we have managed to develop a Penang Green Agenda, which is in order to achieve the overarching goals in the Penang 2030 goals. So Penang Green Agenda is a framework that helps the state to set out the strategies to address our Penang environmental challenge. So it is also to help our Penang State Government to achieve our UN Sustainable Development Goals and also to instill a forward-looking and participatory approach on all the decision-making for all levels of the government. So in this Penang Green Agenda, it consists of 10 different areas that we were looking forward. So green economy is part of that. And the aim of Penang Green Economy should be threefold. So by putting Penang on a new growth trajectory that is more prosperous and sustainable, so in order to improve our environmental sustainability and also to increase the standard of living of Penangites. So these are the 6 main focus in our green economy shop. So for digital transformation portfolio, this is a new portfolio that launched by our Penang State Government this year to focus on digital transformation. So it is also to enhance the momentum under the Industry Revolutions 4.0. So this portfolio is focused to increase the competitiveness on the existing technological platforms and also to get Penang State to prepare us into the industrial revolutions. So as well for Penang manufacturing sectors to move up the value chain, Penang State realized that we need to adopt the digital technologies, especially by our domestic firm, and also to investing in R&D areas. So here comes now Penang State is focusing on drafting a Penang Digital Transformation Master Plan. Another interesting app that developed by Penang Green Council for the waste management. This is, we call it as Trash to Treasure mobile apps and incorporate into our Zero Waste Network. It is a database that acts as a tool for our people to locate the nearest recycling center or the buyback center. So it is also an app that you can trade in your pre-loved items. It will consist of mini game. The mini game will help you to understand how to segregate the different what waste can be recycled and what waste cannot be recycled. So it is quite a fun apps that we have introduced lately. So here comes the information on how Penang State government respond during our movement control order, means that our lockdown and especially in green initiative. So we have done a public survey on movement during the movement control orders. So we would like to understand the behavior and consumption patterns of our Penangites when during these pandemic areas. Is it creating more waste or less waste? And eventually we found out that a lot of public or a lot of Penangites has actually ordered a lot of online food. So they will grab their foods by using online Grab foods, whatever. So in order to reduce the plastic packaging, so Penang Green Council has also taken up the initiative to introduce the paper containers. Basically, we have provided the paper containers for all the hawkers and restaurants during the pandemic time in order to reduce the usage of plastic packaging. Of course, we are during the pandemic and movement control lockdown areas, we understand that a lot of people stay at home, but when you're staying at home, you still can practice those green practices. So we have come up with this Greenies at Home Challenge. It's the competitions that how to teach you, like if you have a lot of single-use plastic, that you have some bottles and all that, how can you make it into upcycles product? So next, during this pandemic, we understand that one of the biggest issues and problems that we are facing will be the face mask, the big consumption of face masks, and also our glove. So we have come out a series of mask educations with all the online publicities, and also we have an animation videos that come up in 4 different languages to educate our people how to discard your mask and how to dispose your mask correctly and responsibility. Order for that, in terms of that, we have come up with our in-house sustainable face mask. This is made by cloth and reusable mask, consists of adults and kids. One of the biggest things to highlight is our reusable mask. We are actually hiring the single mothers and the housewife to help us to produce for that, help us to sew for that. So this will indirectly will help them to generate some income for their life, for their living. So of course, we will have some communities message videos and all that. This is videos that we produce in the local dialect way. So because Penang State government believe that we have to speak our community, speak their language in order for them to buy in our ideas and buy in our mindset. So of course, and by looking at this pandemic and all the things, and we have used a lot of digital tools, especially on laptops, the high demand on computers. So we have launched a program that we encourage all the industry or factories to donate their laptop, their used laptop or computers that is still in good conditions, but they are waiting to dispose, let's say, to donate to state government. So we will have our vendors to refurbish it and then to send it and donate it to our underprivileged students, that to ensure that every student in Penang will get the ability and get the chance to learn online. So this is what I have for today. And Penang State government basically is always holding the 4 pillars concept, so which consists of economy, environment, institutions, and stakeholders. So it's basically to translate into the economy must protect the environment. And with the effort of collaborations with our institutions, and of course, all of this effort has to benefit to our stakeholders, to our people. So we understand that citizen participation is very crucial and vital to ensure that the sustainability of our project and also in environmental protections. So thank you very much.
Great insights, especially looking on how the adaptability, resilience for the COVID-19 and taking this challenge into an opportunity for raising the awareness, education, and so on. And more important, also bringing digital technologies, which is at the core of the circular cities, that how digital technologies, whether it be the ICTs, information and communication technologies, whether it be the Internet of Things, whether it be the robotics and so on, how they are really shaping up the new resource efficient economies and reducing the pollution. And also happy to see that how policymakers are the environmental champions, and great to see His Excellency Chief Minister of Penang, who was best management lead when we were supporting Penang, and so that's a great elevation as well. So now let's have a journey to Europe from Asia, and it's a time for the keynote speech, as EU is fully funding the Switch Asia program, and the member states of the EU are quite intensively engaged with all of us to support, whether it be the Netherlands, France, Belgium, and so on. So when it comes to the circular economy, EU member state Finland comes to mind. And Finland has supported a lot, whether it be on the circular economy, whether on the sustainable technologies. So without further ado, I would like to invite His Excellency Mr. Heikki Kairo from the Finnish Embassy in Thailand to provide insights from Finland and share the experiences. And he has a great diplomatic career as well as the education from the University of Helsinki. So Mr. Heikki Kairo, floor is yours, please. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Mushtaq and the AIT team, and thank you to all the participants and the fellow speakers for the very interesting remarks so far. I'm very happy to be sharing some experiences from Finland in this about 20-minute slot that I've been given. Very honored to speak on this highly relevant and interesting topic that is also a political priority for Finland as well, and also here in the embassy regionally. During my presentation, I'll be first giving a bit of an overview of the Finnish circular economy framework, including our national circular economy roadmap, before proceeding to the issue of circular cities in Finland with some practical examples as well. So about the Finnish national roadmap for circular economy, the idea is that it's a multi-stakeholder approach to find complete solutions towards a systemic change instead of quick fixes here and there. But really, circular economy is about systemic change that requires contribution from all, including the cities and municipalities, but not them alone, but also from the private sector and many others. This is also based on 4 cross-sectoral goals. Of course, renewable of the foundations of competitiveness and vitality. Sustainability and growth are not mutually exclusive, but actually being sustainable and having a circular economy can offer major business opportunities and growth opportunities and competitiveness. Of course, transfer to low carbon energy. This is something driven by the climate change very heavily. Finland is today gets over 40% of its energy from renewables, but it's aimed to increase much higher. Natural resources regarded as scarcities. This is one major goal behind our national circular economy roadmap, that to ensure that all materials are returned to the cycle again and again. And then finally, everyday decisions must be seen as a driving force, because much of our greenhouse gas emissions are actually related to housing, transportation, and food, and those things that are really about our everyday decisions. Finland, as a relatively small innovation nation, is actually quite well suited to try out new innovations and even experiments at city level and broader for circular economy with the help of digital solutions. For example, in renewable energy, nutrition recycling, low carbon timber construction, recycling of municipal waste, or rehabilitation of contaminated land, for example. But I would now like to move on to the focus of cities. And of course, as we all know, and as we have heard from the presentations, is that cities as kind of cradles of innovation and transformation, they have an enormous potential to lead the transition to a circular economy. And municipalities and cities may function as accelerators by activating local communities, operators, or implementing sustainable public procurement, or by encouraging industries and inhabitants to take action, or by helping different partners and different organizations to build new partnerships. Cities are, of course, they are themselves planners, buyers, customers, property developers, and licensing authorities, and many other things, and of course, as such, very key players in fields as diverse as mobility, waste management, land use, urban planning, or number of public services, from education to libraries and culture and many more. But to make this presentation a bit more lively, I would like to at this point share with you a short video that actually contains some interviews from some of the pioneer cities of Finland who have taken strong action to start to implement circular economy practices around the country. And we have agreed with AIT that you will show the video from your screen.
Me halutaan tehdä Suomesta kestävä yhteiskunta. Siirrymme uusiutuvaan energiaan, pyrimme kokonaan eroon jätteistä ja tavoittelemme maapallon kantokyvyn mukaista kulutustasoa.
Se tarkoittaa, että me täällä päiväkodissa yhdessä lasten kanssa lajittelemme ja kierrätämme jätteet mahdollisimman tarkasti.
Me toivomme, että asemakaavavaiheessa kaikki massat pidetään siellä asemakaavan sisällä eikä mitään massoja viedä sieltä ulos. Se tarkoittaa sitä, että tämä meidän purettu Hämeenkylän koulumme on käytetty infran rakentamiseen kadun pohjaksi.
Olisiko teillä ukulele ja kahvakuulla lainata?
Kyllä vai. Tässä.
Ja pinkkikahva.
Ja pinkkikahva.
Ai että.
Moi! Me ollaan valmiita tekemään tosi paljon töitä, että me saadaan ruokahävikin määrää vähennettyä. Ja näihin talkoisiin me toivotaan, että kaikki jyväskyläläiset tulee mukaan.
Tekemään tosi paljon töitä, ettei synty turhaa rotkaa ja jätettä.
Nämä oppilaat, minun pullamurut varsinkin, keksii huisin hienoja ideoita materiaalien tehokkaaseen hyödyntämiseen.
Me toivomme, että kaikki riihimäkeläiset tarttuisivat toimeen ja käyttäisivät meidän kierrätyskeskuksen palveluita.
Ormon kaupunki haluaa olla edelläkävijä ympäristöasioissa. Se tarkoittaa sitä, että siirryttiin käyttämään täysin 100% uusiutuvaa polttoainetta. Lappeenrannan tavoitteena on, että vuonna 2050 kaupungista ei synny enää kaatopaikalle vietävää jätettä, vaan kaikki hyödynnetään.
Haluamme olla sähköpyöräilyn pääkaupunki.
Kuuleppa, me ei tule enää tavaroita, mä joutamme sivuun.
Ostetaan kotimaita ruokaa. Ja muistetaan kierrättää.
Me ollaan valmiina tekemään tosi paljon töitä, jotta muovia kierrätetään paremmin.
Thank you very much. This was to show you a bit the life in Finnish cities and the circular economy practices at the very grassroots level, and hopefully you will able to learn some Finnish as well and able to read the subtitles. Next, I would like to say a few words about what kind of a common circular economy policy tools in practice there have been applied in Finnish cities. Of course, even though Finland was very early to establish the national circular economy roadmap, but still, of course, cities are undergoing a transformative learning process. And of course, there's still a way to go before cities really tap their potential to the fullest extent as change agents for the circular economy. Recently, the consulting company Deloitte conducted an interesting study to look at the circular economy initiatives in Finland's 6 largest cities to see really where are the strong points and where are maybe the weaknesses and where the focus has been. And we can clearly see that the construction sector is something that is very heavily actually on the focus in Finland. Finnish circular experimentation is strong in construction and process industries, a little bit less in sharing economy and personal consumption measures, but of course, even in those fields, we see a change, that the change is coming. Construction here refers to the use of, for example, recycled or renewable materials in city developments or to urban planning that is related to the use of zoning and public spaces to support circular economy development. And the video clip that we just saw, for example, we saw how the demolished old school was being used for construction of a new building. Another interesting picture is this one from the same study, which shows which have been the most common circular economy policy tools, with some practical examples in the Finnish cities. Even here we see the green construction procurement is very important. For example, the use of recycled materials in infrastructure projects, but also land occupation and zoning to repurpose city lands to support circular economy or to reduce soil waste, for example. Industrial symbiosis parks, to develop industrial parks is another very interesting development that is happening. For example, in Turku, one of our big cities, there's a textile recycling hub now in the making. Waste management investments, this is very interesting. I'll be telling a bit more on this a bit later. Green mobility investments, of course, focus on active mobility and public transportation, as well as business support schemes, such as providing coaching, financing, and other types of support for businesses for them to transform into circular business models. Ladies and gentlemen, next I would like to focus a bit on one particular case example, namely our capital, Helsinki. Helsinki is a city of some 600,000 inhabitants. The greater Helsinki region with the neighboring cities is about double that number of inhabitants. So a bit over 1 million, which is about 1/5 of the whole Finnish population. Helsinki has put a lot of effort, actually, and emphasis on becoming one of the most sustainable capitals in the world. As in line with the Finnish government's objectives to become carbon neutral by 2035, also the city of Helsinki, for example, they approved 2 years ago their own action plan to make Helsinki carbon neutral by 2035 through nearly 150 actions which aim for carbon neutrality and the creation of a circular economy. Also, Helsinki has been active internationally. It was among the first cities to sign the European Circular Cities Declaration in 2020, a couple of months ago, together with 4 other Finnish cities and in total 26 European cities. This is also a very interesting initiative in which the UNEP has been also actively behind. And Helsinki has introduced its own citywide roadmap for circular economy, which is part of the 2035 carbon neutral action plan. And this circular economy roadmap outlines 4 particular key areas for action where they see a lot of potential, in particular, to implement and to reap the benefits of the circular economy. One, of course, not surprisingly, is construction. As we saw previously, construction is heavily focused in many cities. The built environment globally consumes almost 50% of all the materials produced. So it's essential to invest in not only the energy efficiency of the buildings, but also the building materials as well. In practice, a key action point for Helsinki has been to create a stronger understanding of the circular economy in the city's own construction processes through trainings and workshops, but also to actually adopt new requirements and procedures that promote circular economy in practice in such projects, including the zoning phase. Also essential is to take into account the building and construction site life cycle costs, including the demolition part. A second key area for action raised by Helsinki is procurement. The city of Helsinki makes procurements worth over 2 billion euros per year, which equals some 40% of the city's whole budget. And Helsinki has several projects underway regarding the promotion of low carbon procurement and the calculation of the procurement's carbon footprint to, for example, certain criteria in the procurement tenders. One very recent example is the new organization-wide policy regarding outsourced catering in meetings and events in Helsinki. The purpose is to reduce food waste and to avoid disposable plates. Or another example is that the city of Helsinki has established an internal marketplace for used second-hand indoor and outdoor furniture, so that if one unit, for example, a school or a library needs new furniture, they can first see through the marketplace if there are second-hand furniture available from other units before they procure new equipment. Third area for action here is green waste. The maintenance of the city's large public areas produce various types of green waste, of course, and currently such green waste is processed through composting or incineration mainly. But Helsinki is now paying a lot of attention to raise awareness of alternative ways as well, such as pyrolysis or the use of biochar, for example. And then the fourth area, which I will be telling a bit more in a moment separately, is the sharing economy. Given that cities own and operate, for example, big numbers of different kinds of facilities, this is a very, very interesting area. I will also add you a link if you want. If you're interested, you can have a look a bit later. I think we will not have time to look at this presentation, the video now, but if you're interested, you can have a look a video on the practice in Helsinki. But then I would like to say a few words still about the waste management issues, which is also something very strongly bubbling under in many cities in Helsinki, in Finland, including Helsinki. In Finland, today, even 99% of municipal solid waste is recovered either as energy or by material recycling, in line with the national waste ban of Finland, which provides the strategic guidance. This means that about 1% only ends up in the landfill. And of course, this would not be possible without a strong behavioral change and support from the citizens and the attitudes that support this kind of a change, but also regulatory and technological enablers are truly key in such a change. And one interesting example is that there are a number of advanced waste management solutions that are being used as a built-in element in city planning or smart city initiatives. For example, this one is from the smart city district of Helsinki called Kalasatama, very close to the city center, where they have built this underground waste management and sorting system connected to the basements of the housing buildings, but also to the street level. Citizens can drop their sorted waste into these cubes using their digital apps, and then the waste is transported underground at 70 kilometers per hour to a centralized waste management facility. And this has received a lot of attention both internally and domestically, this system. And mindful of the time limitations, I will now move on to the last slide. I would like to share something about the sharing economy, which was actually one of the key areas also raised in the city of Helsinki in their circular economy plan. Of course, cities operate and own or otherwise possess big numbers of facilities, properties, but also other kinds of physical items, which are not always used at the maximal level. But now cities, including Helsinki, have come up with innovative solutions how to maximize the usage of these resources. For example, Helsinki is offering residents vacant premises owned by the city for work or meetings via digital services that they can use for booking. Also, the civil society organizations can book premises for their meetings in some of the vacant premises owned by the city's offices. Another example is relating to the libraries. These two pictures are from Oodi Library, which is the flagship library located in central Helsinki. Libraries in Finland have nowadays become more and more places that offer residents not only books, but a number of physical items to borrow. Nowadays, many residents, many citizens want to move away from the ownership of things that you might not use very often to borrowing things. For example, musical instruments or a sewing machine or exercise equipment, or even 3D printers. These are all things that are made available to the citizens by city libraries in Helsinki and increasingly in many other cities as well. By this way, also their usage is maximized and people no longer need to store these items that they don't use very often in their small apartments. Ladies and gentlemen, I see my time is up, but I'm very happy that I had this opportunity to share some thoughts and experiences from Finland, and apologies for the technical problems at the beginning. Thank you very much for your time and attention.
Thank you very much, Excellency Mr. Hikekairu. So we learned a lot from the Finland, but just two important uptakes which for the Asian cities are very much relevant. One is the green public procurement, because it's still the biggest share of the GDP is spent through the public procurement in Asia. So that's how we can learn. And number two is focusing on waste management. And waste management is one of the biggest challenges in the cities in Asia Pacific. So now, as we are already a bit late and behind the schedule, but I would still like to mention that all the questions we have collected, basically they will also be the basis for our next discussions. So that's how we all create the dialogue in this form of a hybrid, that we collect the questions, we make the new plan for bringing the speakers to address those challenges on the questions highlighted. But still taking the advantage, and with a little bit of my apologies for being late to all the distinguished speakers, I would like to request that all the speakers can still choose one question or can talk about one policy which can be applicable to Asian cities, whether it be the national level policy or the city level policy. So may I please go again in the same sequence, and first to invite Ms. Beatrice. Are you there, Ms. Beatrice? Okay, yeah.
Yes, I'm here.
Yeah.
I had some problems with my computer. So these are the questions that has been asked. Do you want me to answer them again, or put an example of a policy?
No, I think you can choose any of the questions which are asked to you, or you can, if you feel that you want to have more emphasis on policy, you can also do so, or you can mix together. So it's up to you. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Sorry, I misunderstood. So basically, I will focus more on these questions that are specific on the project, as there are other speakers who can talk more about policies. And basically, in this case, the savings and the payback period is not attractive. Unfortunately, the coal is very much subsidized, and the savings are not enough to attract the people to implement insulation thanks to the savings. Anyway, based on our surveys, the small savings households are having are using it for food, which is very important result. And the people usually the first interest is the aesthetic of the house. So through the insulation, we improve the aesthetic and also the add value of the house, because when you insulate, you also reinforce the structure. And this is the first priority. The second is comfort, and the third is health. Unfortunately, it's not what we would like, but it's what the people respond, and we need to listen to that. And according to that, try to improve the living conditions of the population. And if we have to put the picture of the house, of the aesthetic first to be listened, we will do it. But of course, our aim is to decrease the air pollution and the emissions of CO2. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And so now let's move quickly to Professor Dr. Aligul Qureshi. So Dr. Qureshi, either you can choose a question or mix together, please.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much for very pertinent questions as well. I actually got these three questions. I think I can combine some of them and try to answer maybe in the reverse sequence, starting from the bottom and going up. Donut theory is a nice theory about like our climate limits. As I mentioned, that most or sort of wasteful use of land and energies, for example, in our transport system, are actually, we have to go for some bound over there. But on the other hand, I think thinking everything from the perspective of just social benefit or benefit for sort of like just humanity, I think is a very rapid change that we are asking for. So we have to go with some win-win solutions. For example, the solution that I showed for cooperative delivery of parcels or materials to the construction sites. I think that also benefits from the economic perspective to the suppliers as well. So it basically saves some cost for them, of course, supported by the other policies such as congestion also. Okay, congestion pricing also. Is it good? I am seeing some changes are going on in the screen, but I hope you guys can listen to that. All right, can I continue? No problem.
No problem. Yeah, thank you. Thank you
Okay, so
very
just one more comment. I think just before I close, I would like to say that maybe emotional connection with private cars. Actually, yes, that is true for time being, because we have been fed this thing that the cars gives you more mobility, cars gives you this freedom that you have. But if you replace the cars by better choices, for example, better public transport and better, like for example, even with the shared cars, for example, we can reduce at least that emotional connection that we want to own a car. There was an example, for example, in commuting population, because of this new innovation that now you can enjoy Wi-Fi connections and using internet, and you can use your time more usefully in commute towards the cities. I think now there's a trend that younger population or younger people even do not want to own a car. They want to utilize their time to do more on the public transport as well. If the public transport is nice enough, you have enough facilities on them. So I think this was at least I very quickly I wanted to cover this donut theory or circular cities for circular cities and the question about this emotional connection for the car. As far as for the compensation is concerned, I think if I understood correctly the question, I think the issue is that with this megapolis or these mega cities, they are already touching the boundaries that we have already mentioned, for example, in this donut theories. So the only option is to change within. So we have to go through a little bit of redevelopment and maybe a shift from more sort of energy intensive to energy efficient things. So we have to create policies which give financial, for example, benefits or financial facilities for buying into the new and energy efficient solutions, such as energy efficient vehicles, or try to promote public transport, or try to promote redevelopment sites rather than promote outward growth of the cities. Yeah, thank you very much. I think the time is also running out, so we can talk later also.
Thank you. Thank you, Professor Qureshi. So now, Kyoko Sensei, please.
I got two excellent questions, and then with these two excellent questions, I came to realize that there are two things that we need to highlight. One is that we have to have imagination. The other is a very strong commitment to justice and equality. Yeah, so we need imaginations in order to, because what we are saying in gender equality is that we need to make sure that everybody is visible, that different needs of different people are going to be addressed. So that's why we do need imagination. Then for that, education in all levels is very important. And then the other one is that this strong commitment to justice and equality. I think these two are very important issues that we want to take home. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Kyoko. Now let's move to Ms. Josephine. So please, floor is yours.
Thank you very much for the questions that raised for me. And then in terms of the wastewater concern, I have answered that how Penang State government is promoting on rainwater reuse system. And whereas for plastic, just now I have a question on plastic.
So you can choose also from chat box, please. Yeah.
Yep. Okay, I have a question for plastic that I have already answered in the chat box, that for the 10 years challenges that Penang state government is facing is, yes, the same challenge that we are facing together with the plastic manufacturers and producers are almost the same, because it did affect their business, their profits. So the approach that Penang state government is using is, first, will be the strong political view that our leaders incorporate for that. So secondly, we will involve actively together with all the producers and all the manufacturers to have a dialogue and understand their concern and their requests when we are crafting or drafting our single-use plastic policies. So at now, come to this stage, Penang state government has already promoted a circular economy concept to all the producers and manufacturers. And of course, one carrot and stick has to become together. So in terms of Penang state government is looking into how to promote it and give some incentive to all the business operators and manufacturers in order to encourage they adopt for this circular economy, especially in plastic use. Thank you.
Thank you, Josephine. So now let me request Excellency Mr. Heki Karu, but also for requesting him as a closing message as well, in addition to the response to the questions. But after that closing message, we will have a group photo. So I will request everyone to turn on their video cameras. So please, Excellency Heki Karu.
Thank you very much, Dr. Mushtaq. Let me study this question.
So we have also put one on the screen. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Of course, this is a big question, and given the time limitations, will be difficult to answer. But of course, like this event like this is excellent for first of all sharing best practices from around the world, and I think of course hopefully next step would be some kind of outreach also to hopefully the next step would be also some kind of an outreach to the local cities and municipalities, the decision makers at the local level, and hopefully we can find a way to also share best practices. I see there's a lot of awareness raising still to be done, and not everything that works, for example, in Europe might be applicable in Thailand or Cambodia or other countries in the regions, where some others might be. But overall, I think it's best would be just to increase outreach to the local level, and hopefully we can have a conversation also with UNEP and AIT and all those interesting parties in discussing that. I can see definitely there are number of challenges in this region, starting from lack of awareness or lack of regulation, or lack of implementation in places where there are actually regulation, but they might not be implemented. But overall, it's a long way. It's a long process where we need a lot of dialogue and a multi-stakeholder approach involving both the government level and the local level and all the international partners coming together in events like this. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. So thank you, Mr. Heki Karu. So basically, we will be designing based on your questions, but our next dialogue is on 16th December at the same time, and that is focusing on the innovations and startups for the circular economy. So please stay tuned for that one. But before the now closing, let's have a photo. So please turn on your video cameras. We will have a screenshots, and then we can have also a shot of the participants sitting in the room, and then we will make a beautiful windows in the screen. Thank you. So please turn on your cameras, and organizers can take the photo shot.